And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis. You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis. You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of January 15th, 2018 are about to head your way. So go ahead and press that record button. As always, thank you for broadcasting and listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have a great weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Achoo! Uh-oh, it's cold season again, and we aren't the only ones whose joints ache. When we come back, I'll tell you how to prevent pain in the body automotive.
O'Reilly. When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Just like human bodies, automotive systems are also challenged when the mercury drops. For example, your car has CV joints which connect transmission to wheels, like your hip joints attach torso to legs. People are born with the fluid that lubricates this connection, and cars come with it from the factory. But over time, both can lose it due to age or injury. CV joints are especially vulnerable in winter when their protective rubber boots are brittle and tear more easily, allowing precious lubricant to leak. To prevent the blues caused by broken joints, include CVs in your winter inspection. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Breathe deeply, get in touch with your inner self, and tap into all that energy. Aha! You think I'm talking about yoga, but it's really about cars. When I come back, I'll rev you up.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Top performance in humans and in cars depends on oxygen intake. But how do you know if your car's getting enough? That's the job of close-pin-sized gadgets called oxygen sensors. When in tip-top shape, these monitors measure oxygen in the exhaust, then signal onboard computers to adjust fuel-air ratios in the engine for complete combustion. But worn sensors give faulty cues, resulting in poor performance, higher emissions, and lower gas mileage. So check out those sensors. Then you and your car can breathe easy. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. More may be the plaintive cry of turbocharged consumers, but it's also the voice of your vehicle's engine. When I come back, I'll tell you what the automotive beast wants more of.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Like consumers burn products and services and beg for more, so do vehicle engines burn gas and air and beg for more. And just like credit limits restrict buying power, so do limitations on number and size of cylinders reduce automotive power. Okay, so how do hungry engines get their power fix? Turbochargers. Here's how one works. Trapped exhaust air spins a turbine, which then turns an air pump, which compresses air. This squeezed air takes up less room, so more can be shoved into an engine's cylinders. When more air meets gas, kapow! More energy or horsepower is created. Thankfully, aftermarket turbochargers are readily available to feed the consumer beast. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. Today we're on an entomology field trip, observing uninvited guests infesting your car. Don't break out the raid just yet, because when I come back, I'll show you how to take this pest to the cleaners.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's everywhere. Junk in the trunk, trash on the dash, and litter literally everywhere in between. Looks like you've got a bad case of clutter bug. But the prognosis is good if you analyze and immunize. Analyze. Pretend you're selling your vehicle and take everything out. Carefully evaluate what you put back in and where you put it, cause even flashlights can be dangerous projectiles if stored on the dash. Then immunize. Exterminate clutter bugitis forever by sanitizing breeding grounds. That means resist leaving even one fast food bag in your car. Instead, give it a proper burial in a trash can and not on the street. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Road rage has no place on our highways. This holiday, take the goodwill you found in cathedrals, synagogues, and churches to your sedans, wagons, and SUVs. When I come back, I'll tell you why.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Just like epidemics of the past, road rage is passed on after briefest contact. While the holiday spirit still fills you, think about this New Year's resolution. Cage road rage. Give fellow travelers some notice and signal before switching lanes. Don't tailgate. Driving 2 inches from someone's bumper doesn't hurry them along. Go easy on the horn. Drive in the right lane, pass in the left, and take only one parking space. When you're driving, think golden rule. The lessons we learned during holiday services are good all year long. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a question for me, Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Okay, lots of information today. We have a special guest. I'm going to take you on a tour back to Daytona Beach, the Daytona International Speedway, and Terry Savison, Director of Motorsports for WNDB 1150 AM there in Daytona, is going to give us the latest on the ARCA practice trials and a lot more going on in Daytona Beach. Also, future of the internal combustion engine. What do you think about this? Is it EVs, electric vehicles, versus ICE, internal combustion engines? Well, not really, but there's a lot of information going on, and there's a lot of push globally for electric vehicles. We'll share a little information about that. Hannah will take your calls and put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by the Car Care Council. If you're traveling this winter season, remember to follow the 3 P's. Prepare, that's always, a preparation is the key. Prevent and plan to save money and avoid breakdowns. That sound like a plan? Does to me. Learn more at thecarcare.org. Great, terrific site. Non-profit organization I am proud to be partnered with, the Car Care Council and Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Your calls when I come back. Like us, you're going to love us. Folks, being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can put strains on your vehicle. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. This time of year, it's smart to check tread depth before driving on icy roads, and you may want to consider special winter tires. Check tire pressure weekly during the winter, as every 10-degree drop in temperature causes a 1-pound decrease in tire pressure. Check your exhaust system for carbon monoxide leaks, as windows are more likely to be closed during this time of year. It's also a great idea to keep your gas tank half full, as this will help avoid moisture buildup in the gas lines, which could ultimately freeze this time of year. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have spare money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. If you've had a car with a coolant leak, you know how expensive it can be. It's not usually the newer, higher-dollar vehicles that have leaks. It's the older vehicles, say $900 to $2,000 range, the cars we depend on for daily transportation and other vital tasks. If you're experiencing a coolant leak and the repair cost exceeds the value of your car, you don't necessarily have to take your car off the road. Try using K-Seal. We've seen our share of these in our shop where, before K-Seal, once a diagnosis was made of a leaking intake gasket, radiator, heater core, or head gasket, the car was sent for recycling and the owner had to purchase another. Before giving it up, try K-Seal. It's a pour-in solution that just may allow you to keep your car longer without spending more on repairs than the car is worth. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Here we go again. And that reminds me of a game that I used to play when I played games. This was, I don't know, Fabio, our producer. Have you ever heard of the game Sewer Shark? I can tell you about it a little bit later, but we have Donald from New York, and also we have our friend Terry Sabiston on the air. Remind me a little later in the program to tell you about this, because it's very intriguing, and it's sort of an educational program, and just to see how quick your responses are, sort of like driving a race car, I think. Terry Sabiston, Motorsports Director, WNDB 1150 AM in Daytona Beach and the surrounding area. I want to welcome you back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How's the weather in Daytona Beach, and what's going on at the track?
Well, it's like waking up with racing in your cup. And right now we have ARCA testing going on here for the ARCA series for the Lucas Oil 200 by General Tire coming up on February 10th. But this is a test session, and they are out here on track right now. We got single car runs going on. So I think I'll be okay. But if they start drafting, I'm going to have to find a quiet place to duck into a corner, because it gets pretty loud when you get several of these cars together.
There probably aren't many quiet places in the middle of the. Are you? So Terry, are you in the infield or in the stands?
I am actually in the fan zone on top of the Cup garage. I got a little bit away from the ARCA garage so that I wouldn't have that noise, but I've got a great view. Actually, this is not open to the public, so I'm feeling like I'm sneaking in out here. There's nobody out here, anybody but race people and security officials. And there's that drafting session. We got a 4-car draft hooking up right now. But I've got a great view of the whole track. I got one spot right behind the Daytona 500 Club I can't see, but I can watch these guys right now diving into turn 1, up to the high banking turn 1 and 2, getting ready to come down the backstretch. They're running about 50-second laps, about 185, 189 miles an hour. And now we do have a 4-car draft coming down the backstretch. Can you tell I've talked about these cars on this track before?
Well, yeah, just a skosh. So Terry, let me for our listeners, what is the difference between the NASCAR vehicles that run like 195 or 200 miles an hour and the ARCA that runs 185 miles an hour?
Well, one of the big differences, the Elmore 396 sealed motors they have, and everybody's motor is identical. Here at Daytona with a restrictor plate, they're getting about 400 horsepower. At other tracks, they get about 700. And actually heard that one team got 4 engines and put them on the dyno, and after putting 3 of them on the dyno, they had their dyno checked out because they couldn't believe that they were all identical. And then finally, they put the 4th one on, and it had the 3 horsepower difference. So that's how close these engines are together. They have to be within 1% of each other. So that levels the playing field. And then one way they are like Cup cars right now, especially here at Daytona and Talladega, they're required to run the composite body. It weighs 135 pounds. It costs about $8,000. And when you get a dent in it, it usually pops back out.
So there's
talk about.
So they're what they're driving. Really, the ARCA cars are clones. Is that right?
What's that, Bobby?
Would you consider the ARCA car to be a clone then?
Yes, it is, and they're actually 3-year-old Cup cars. That's where a lot of these guys get their cars from. So they're 3 years ago composite was required by NASCAR, and now they've got new bodies for them. So these cars are coming out of the old NASCAR shops, and they are NASCAR cars, just a little different rules on motors and engines and things like that keep the speeds down, because they don't want. We've seen the carnage that can happen here at Daytona. and ARCA doesn't want that to happen. So with restrictor plates, they keep the speeds down.
I understand. So Terry, this morning then, everyone that's on the track, are they practicing or are they qualifying?
They're practicing, and in some ways they're qualifying. We have 60 drivers here, about 50 cars, and some of these young, and there's some young kids out here, they are buying driving time. These teams will let them pay for some of the testing, and it helps them fund their, and they get seat time. So they'll have, and several of these teams have 2 and 3 cars, and they'll have 3 and 4 and 5 drivers rotating in and out of these cars and figuring out literally who's going to be driving their car when the season starts. Because there's 60 drivers here. There's 20 drivers that are not going to be racing here come February 10th.
Wow. What's the have you driven around that track in a race car?
Yeah, I've actually driven the Richard Petty driving experience, and that was an experience. You got to do it, Bobby. You got to do it. It's a handful. I'll never forget it. I think my top speed was 164 down the backstretch, and the hardest thing to do when you come off the banking of turn 2, that banking makes you go left. You have to turn right to go straight, and there's a big wall out there.
Oh, my gosh.
Everything in your mind says don't do it. But if you don't do it, you're down on the inside. You're scrubbing off speed. So it took me a couple laps, and it took somebody passing me saying I could go faster. And once somebody passed me, I put my foot to the floor, and the instructor took a deep breath, and he said, all right, and we did it. And the smoother that car in front of me gave me something to watch, something to track, distracted me from what was right in front of me. I smoothed out, and I got faster speeds. So I learned real quick.
And so that seat time equates to exactly what's going on this morning for those 20 folks that won't make the race, but that same seat time gives them practice. How closely do they run together? I mean, like inches, like in the real race, or are they more conservative?
In drafting sessions, that's what they're doing. They put a limit to 6 cars in a draft here, but you'll get 6 cars literally within inches of each other, and that's when you're going to see them break probably that 50-second barrier right at it. Right now, they're running 50s. I think 50.06 was the fastest speed so far today, and you can go to ARCA Series website and follow live timing and scoring, and let you know literally as these guys are setting these lap speeds. I had a nice talk with the ARCA officials this morning, and they are great people, and they work hard to make this season great. And they travel all over the country, throughout the Midwest, and it's amazing the tracks they go to, everything from Talladega and Daytona to Salem to, I believe they run a couple of dirt tracks in the season. So
that's amazing.
The new composite body is not required at any track but Talladega and Daytona, but you get 100 pounds reduced weight if you're running the carbon fiber over a steel body. So that's a pretty good advantage.
So, Terry, that 100 pounds of reduction of weight then can be attached to the frame in a more advantageous, is that?
The max weight with a steel body is 3,400 pounds, and the max weight with a carbon fiber is 3,300 pounds. So they're a little less than Cup cars, but not by a few hundred pounds.
So do they run together? And if so, doesn't a 3,300-pound car have an advantage?
You bet. That's why they want them to switch over to the composite bodies. It makes it safer. It cuts down on sheet metal, and it gives you a better chance to win. So that's their incentive to get these teams to switch over to this. So the technology's there. Let's use it.
Yeah, I'm agree. Real quickly here. When is the ARCA race? Is that this evening or afternoon?
No, it's February 10th. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe.
Okay.
And the WNDB broadcast team will be calling, so you can tune in and listen after Bobby Likis signs on at noon. Tune back in at 4. But actually, we'll be on most of that afternoon. We'll have a cup practice going on, and we'll be joining what's going on here at the Speedway that day. But we will carry that race at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, February 10th. Really looking forward to it.
And then the Rolex coming up. What's that date? Last of this month?
Yeah, it's the last weekend of this month, I think 25th, 26th. And that's what's neat. What's also right now, the Rolex was here testing. Well, all their tents on pit road are still there. A lot of the stuff in the garage is still here because the Cup garage did not get used any for the ARCA test. They put them over in the Xfinity garage. So the Cup garage still has some of the Rolex complex setup, and the pit road does too. So this is a time where it's funny because there's nothing going on, but there's a lot of infrastructure here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, there's a lot of infrastructure there as well with a $400 million expansion. I will have to get down there, and I want to thank you so much for keeping up me and our listeners, our Car Clinic listeners, up to date and what's going on from the center of but not the automotive world, but from center of the race world. You know, between Daytona and yours truly, the center of the automotive world, and Detroit, I guess we've about got car racing covered and car building covered.
Well, yeah, with Daytona, it's amazing how many different kind of race teams and cars come through here. I mean, we've had the Finale Mondiale and Ferrari Challenge, just so many other things outside the box of Cup racing, but Speed Weeks is here, so we're getting ready to kick it up here a notch here in about 2 weeks and keep going through all the way through the Daytona 500. In 2018, this is what I love. ARCA testing kicks off stock car racing for 2018.
There you go.
I'm not going through withdrawals anymore.
No, I guess not. Terry, thank you so much for, I'll let you get back to the racing and stay warm. And thanks again for giving us a shout and keeping us up to date on what's going on from a Daytona National Race Speedway.
Doesn't matter what the temperature is. Race car on track keeps it warm here. Thanks a lot, Bobby.
Okay, see you, my friend. Well, folks, that is really, really interesting. And 185 miles an hour, and then you turn left. That's just something that's really strange about that. And I know a lot of folks as well, those cars just go round and round. Let me tell you something. When you're in one of those cars, and I've been in one of those cars, it's a whole different world. I'm going to come back and take a call from Donald, and your calls coming up at 888 Car Clinic. Today's vehicles face challenging conditions, and with more than 150 electrical accessories for safety and comfort, like backup cameras and entertainment systems, they're like second homes. Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive Agm batteries that are precision engineered to reliably, durably, and safely meet these challenging needs. Agm batteries have up to 2 times the life of traditional batteries and are non-spillable. The next time you need a battery, ask for an Agm battery to meet today's driving and electrical demands. For more information, visit autobatteries.com.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
I have another vehicle repair to spotlight. A 99 Jeep Cherokee came into the shop recently with a P0303 misfire fault on cylinder number 3. The misfire was erratic, which made diagnosing the problem more difficult. Other shops had thrown parts at it, installing new plug wires, plugs, fuel injector, and some technical service bulletin updates. Nothing worked. We used a borescope, a type of inside-the-engine camera, to inspect the number 3 cylinder, and sure enough saw heavy carbon deposits around the exhaust valve. No traditional cleaner will work on a carbonized exhaust valve. Enter Berryman Products B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. We removed the plug, brought the piston around so the exhaust valve was just opening, and filled the cylinder with Berryman B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. After an overnight soak, we siphoned out the chemical and replaced the plug. Now, several weeks since the repair, and no reported problems, thanks to Berryman. Find more automotive repair and maintenance solutions at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm a 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today. And just remember, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, I'm going to be right here in this seat answering your car questions and sharing with you information that I think is relevant, very much so, like gas prices are up from the same time last year in every region of the country. Without further ado, I'm going to go to New York, and we will, together, and take Donald's call, and then Hannah will take your call at 888-227-2546. Donald, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I was surprised to find out my daughter just bought a 2013 Ford Edge, and there's no gas cap.
Yeah,
I don't remember ever hearing you talk about that,
I
and
know.
I was wondering how is this working out with no gas cap?
Well, I thought that they'd all leak. I mean, no. Well, wait a minute. See, all the NASCAR and all the race cars use that the capless gas tank. Of course, they use a larger inlet pipe so they can fill them as quickly as possible.
Right.
And then, so that's really where that design came from. And then Ford decided that it would use a gasless cap for emissions reasons, because they felt that the gasless, the capless gas tank would seal better than with a cap, and be easier, I guess. And you know, in my heart of hearts, I think it had more to do with let's give marketing something to sell. So I really think that Ford said we're going to, take the gas cap off and then make it easy for people to fill their tanks. So you and I know that when you put the nozzle in, you push on the door, and the door flops open. It's spring loaded, and then when you pull the nozzle out, the door shuts itself. So I would have thought that there would be issues with the design, so that the leading edge of the nozzle, Donald, would cause a scratch or otherwise cause a leak, because you have to have a zero leak seal on the gas cap, or the check engine light will come on.
Uh-huh.
And so they did have, to that end, there was never a recall that I can remember, but there was a change in design, which I expected to happen. But yeah, Ford took the gas cap away and uses a capless neck, and it works. It really is. It really is. You don't have to worry about losing or leaving the cap. Have you ever left a cap on a gas tank? I mean, when you filled and left it up on the tower?
No.
I did one time. I was driving my Viper, and one of the maiden voyages, and I got this side of Atlanta, stopped and bought gas, and put the cap up, and of course there was no place to hang the cap because that's just the way it was. And sure enough, I got down the road, and next time I filled up, no gas cap, and I was really surprised that my check engine light did not come on. So that was a 2001 model automobile. And to show you my nature, on my way back home, I stopped at that gas station to see if my cap was still there. I mean,
But there must be all new cars that are doing that now, right?
Well, no, not all new cars.
Well, I got a friend that just bought a Chevy, and she don't have no gas cap.
Well, no, but not all new cars. A lot of new cars still have the cap. I don't know that you're going to see that. Maybe Ford led the way. I know Ford led the way with their Sync. That was, in fact, it cost them dearly, but now they've recovered. But when Ford first came out with the Sync, which was that, the synchronization of your phone and the not social media, but the center stack, which is the part of the car that we all love, where there's all the controls, like in a Tesla, that's all you have is a center stack, a 17-inch screen, and you control all the functions from that screen, touch screen. And so Ford came out with the Taurus, and when they brought one to our local dealership here in Pensacola, which is World Ford in Pensacola, I actually got a call from a Ford manager, not at the dealership, but from Ford Motor Company, and said, would you go over and road test the vehicle for us and give us a review? and I went over and road tested it. And so they had this gentleman, and he had the Taurus, and he was driving the Taurus all over the southeast, and he was headed to Texas in this Taurus because this was the first new car, and it had the new sync and what have you. And I said, well, do you have your phone hooked up? And this is kind of off the record, so don't tell anyone. He said, no. He said, I can't quite figure out how to make it connect. And I thought that was so funny. Now, granted, it wasn't his car, and I think that they were actually towing the car. I'm not sure that on a trailer. I'm not sure that he was driving the car so they could keep it clean and what have you. But I thought it was ironic that it should have been so simple. And then about a month later, or I don't know, maybe 6 months later, I happened to rent a car, which was it was a Kia. No, it was a Hyundai Genesis. Yes, I rented a Hyundai Genesis, and so I wanted to hook up my phone, and I'd already left the rental place, and I'm driving down the interstate, and I looked on the screen, and it's intuitive, right? So I punched the button to hook up my phone, and with no issues, no problems, and I had never driven one of these cars, and it wasn't even very distracting. I mean, anytime you look at the center stack, it's distracting, but I can tell you that it was a piece of cake. And then later on, Kia sent me a K900 that I drove for a week, and Cadillac sent me an electric Cadillac that I drove for a week. And I can tell you the Kia electronics outperformed the GM center stack on that Cadillac. It took me no less than 5 hours to learn how to use that car and understand its electronics, and the Kia was, I don't know, 45 minutes, and I had it. So it's just, it's ironic, and that's one of the things. Getting back to the story so that we can share with you and our listeners what I wanted to share. Ford went from number 2 or 3 or 4 with customer sat and lost no less than 5 or 8 places because the salesmen were selling the cars and touting the sync, handing the keys to the buyer and say, enjoy. And so Bobby or Donald or Mary would pick up their Fords and they'd leave the dealership, and they couldn't figure out how to make the darn thing work. And so now when you go to buy a new car, there are classes. And to that end, when Lincoln came out several years later with its rendition of sync, or this an upgrade, it came with a 2-hour class on how to work the electronics of the car. And I can tell you, Donald, I don't know what the latest model car that you've driven. I've driven a lot of late model automobiles, and I've interviewed a lot of Ford and GM executives, and the International Auto Show is coming up next week, and so we're going to be hearing from a lot of folks from that international show, from General Motors as well. But if you don't read the owner's manual and then go out when you read the owner's manual and try to operate some of the widgets that are in the car, it takes 2 or 3 months before you ever enjoy or understand the conveniences and the safety factors that the car has. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I know that, the ABS, when the ABS was first put on a street car, Bosch did that. Bosch has really led the industry in many automotive research and development and engineering marvels, I call them. But the bottom line, when we all drove the first ABS-equipped car, you nail the brakes, and you could feel that pop, 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 pop. You could feel that brake pedal pulsating, and people would, they would shy away. They said, "Oh, there's a problem here," and they'd let off the brakes. And that's that. And that was, of course, it took a while for, I'd say, a year or so before the public and the consumers could understand that pulsation was the system working for you, and the harder it pulses, the harder you're supposed to push. You push it and let it do its thing. Very interesting. I think technology's come a long way, and to that end, I don't know if you heard about this, but California is actually moving to ban the sales of fossil fuel cars starting at 2040. Did you hear that?
No, I haven't. No.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I've got some information about that I'll share with everyone a little bit later on. Anyway, very interesting about your daughter's car and about the fuel no gas cap on the products. You're going to see more of that. And provided that something works on one car, and this is the neatest thing about new cars. Just about the time that a new car manufacturer, an OEM, original equipment manufacturer, whether it's Ford, Mercedes-Benz, or Kia, or whomever, gets an advantage, somebody else just makes the same thing. They name it differently. Like Mazda has a Sky Active cylinder control and cylinder deactivation is for General Motors, and Ford has their EcoBoost, and General Motors had this EcoTech. I mean, everything is economical boost, which is like high performance, plus you get economy too. Yeah, well, almost. Hey, thanks for calling, Donald, and always great to hear from New York.
Have a nice day, Bobby.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it is. It really is. Better used cars. Are the cars better today? The average age of light vehicles, and we say light vehicles, we're talking about the vehicles in operation in the U.S., has climbed slightly this year, folks. And whereas it was 11.2 years average age, it's now 11.6. And this is according to the industry experts at IHS Markit. It's a leading provider of business information and analysis for the global automotive industry. The bottom line, registrations for light vehicles in operation, including cars and light trucks, SUVs, CUVs as well, in the U.S. Reached a record level of more than 264 million. That's an increase of more than 6.2 million, roughly 2.5%, just since last year. And this represents the highest annual increase the auto industry has seen in the U.S. since we started tracking the vehicle in operation growth, and it broke the record of the 2.1% growth set in 2015. So just gives you an overview of the cars. Now, does that mean that used cars are better than they've ever been? And the answer is, you better believe it. If the new cars are better than they've ever been and selling more, used cars will be better, because the better you start off with a product, given proper maintenance now, and that's where I come in, then the better your car will be over the long haul. Your calls when I come back at 888 Car Clinic. Don't touch that dial.
Folks, it's time for another question from the Car Clinic inbox. Dear Bobby, I have 3 older vehicles, all with over 200,000 miles. 2 have fuel injection, and 1 has a carburetor. What can I do to help keep these vehicles on the road? Preventive maintenance will keep any vehicle running well. Checking fluids like engine oil, power steering, brake, transmission, and coolant. Be mindful of cracks or frays on belts, and be sure to keep your tires properly inflated. You might also consider treating the fuel system. Berryman's B12 Chem Tool High Mileage Edge is made specifically for high mileage vehicle engines. It features Berryman's proprietary high energy solvent technology, also called HEST, and it's designed to treat the entire fuel system. Berryman's B12 High Mileage Edge cleans fuel injectors, carburetors, intake valves, combustion chambers, fuel pump, tanks, and lines. Regular use will help improve fuel economy, restore power, reduce emissions, and helps to keep older vehicles running longer and better. All these benefits can be realized by just adding to your fuel tank at fill-up. It is fast, simple, and economical. Learn more at BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Love to hear from you at 888 Car Clinic. Miss Hannah will take your call and put you at a queue, and I will put you on the air. We did hear from Terry Sabiston in Daytona Beach, and a lot of racing going on down there. I don't know if you knew this or not, folks, but starting in 2013, the Daytona International Speedway went under a new overhaul. And I say an overhaul, it was literally that. It was a $400 million project. And, you know, when you spend that kind of investment, you expect a lot. And from what I understand, it's no longer a racetrack, it's a stadium, literally, a racing stadium. And what I do know is that during its construction, and there's like 9/10 of a mile of iron structure, the front straightaway. So you've got a 9/10 of a mile. And when they were making this, in building it, they had to put a 7-inch drop or a curvature in that front straightaway structure, in the metal structure, because the earth, you know, of its natural circumference is round. So over 1 mile, there's an 8-inch curve. And so they had to put a 7-inch curve because it was 9/10 of a mile, and roughly. And I thought that was so very interesting that when you're, you know, when you think of engineering, you think, okay, this has to be straight, and this corner has to be 90 degrees, and the next one 90, and the next one, just like when you see a carpenter miter, you know, a baseboard, or one of those beautiful frames of a picture that you see that's mitered and it fits so perfectly. Very interesting. So the same thing is true, but here you are, or here they were, engineering the stands with a curvature. And that's just one of the mysteries, marvels, I'd say, not mysteries, the marvels of the Daytona International Speedway. And then because it's 4 decks of they call it fan injectors, and we're fans, and so they have these injectors, which are you know, inroads and elevators that where fans can literally go into each division, each individual floor. And also, as I understand it, at no point, regardless of where your seats are in the track, would you have to climb more than 20 steps. And that's a big deal when you think about it. I mean, I have an office above our studio, and there are 13, well, those are double steps. There are 26 steps going up to those. So I just think it's very interesting to, when you compare where racing started, you know, actually in Daytona, it started in Ormond Beach. It didn't start in Daytona. It started in Ormond Beach. And Henry Ford took his car where he used to race on Lake Michigan with a mechanic hanging out, a driver driving it. I can see it now with a little leather, I've seen pictures in television with a leather helmet and the goggles and what have you, because you know they got to be freezing. That's on the frozen Lake Michigan, and the mechanic would be hanging out tuning the distributor, moving the distributor timing, or rejetting or adjusting the carburetor, and doing whatever they could possibly do at that time, which wasn't much. Unlike what goes on in your car when you're driving down the road from the comfort of your seat, and the computer is adjusting the timing. And what's wild is the computers on our cars today resets the timing. When I say the timing, it sets the timing on each individual cylinder on the fly. So when you think about it, it's just unbelievably technical. So I don't know what your thoughts are about new cars and the technology and where you think we'll be in the next 20 years. Let me hear from you. 888-227-2546. So I asked the question at the beginning of the program, or posed the question, the future of the internal combustion engine. Is this EVs versus ICE, the internal combustion engine? Well, Mazda laid out a company-wide strategy that looks ahead to the year 2030. So there's no doubt that the internal combustion engine is going to be around for a long time. And there's no doubt that the internal combustion engine, as we know it, will continue to evolve and become faster, more economical, fewer emissions. And you might wonder, well, just how far can we go with the internal combustion engine? Well, there's an HCCI engine, and this is a homogeneous charge compression ignition. That's what HCCI stands for. Now, what that means is that you're making a gasoline motor fire like a diesel motor. Well, gosh, what happens when you compress gasoline beyond its ability to withstand compression? Well, it explodes, or it burns, because you don't want it to explode. You want it to burn like you would burn a match, where you start at the tip and it burns up the wooden stick. And the flame that travels through a combustion chamber, and I won't get technical here, but it's just so you know, the engine in your gasoline engine doesn't explode. The spark plug ignites the fuel, and that burn starts where the plug starts, and then it spreads across the fuel chamber. It's called propagation. And that flame front is always hotter than it is it's hotter at the front side than it is at the back side. And so what that means is the rate of burn of gasoline in a combustion chamber is not symmetrical. It starts in one place and rips roaring across. So that creates emissions, and it creates an unstable burn. And that's why there's room to increase the productivity and horsepower and decrease the emissions. What Mazda is doing really is they're talking about a 20 to 30% efficiency gain over the engines that we have today. Think about that. I mean, I've got a 5-liter, 11.5 to 1 compression, non-supercharged V8 engine that gets 385 horsepower. I get 26.7 miles per gallon at 79 mile per hour average. It's at an 8-speed transmission. It's a 4-door luxury car with all the luxury that you'd ever want, and it's just a drop-dead gorgeous car. But it's get 27 miles per gallon? Really? So what's a 30%? So you're looking at 35 miles per gallon, which is unheard of. But Mazda's doing that, and their SkyActiv/X or -X engine also uses supercharging for further efficiency gains. And so just for you to know, and again, I don't want to be technical here, but the more air you can get on top of the piston and compress it, you can always put fuel in. That's not an issue. The more air you can cram into the chamber and compress it, the more power you can get from the same engine. So if you have one engine that took a deep breath and its lungs, were, let's just say that my lung capacity was X. Well, if you had a blower, then my lung capacity would be X plus whatever the blower could blow into my lungs. Prime example would be, let's simplify it, a CPAP machine. A CPAP machine uses the suction of your voice or your lungs to flow a slight pressure of air into your lungs. That's supposed to help you breathe better and for sleep apnea. And that's just that's an issue that a lot of us have. And I don't use a CPAP machine, but my brother does, and without it, he can't sleep, literally. So that same theory and same methodology is used for engines like the Ford EcoBoost engine that has 2 super CPAP machines on it, or they're called turbochargers. So that when half the engine and one turbocharger feeds the 3 cylinders and one feeds the other 3. Well, so why does it have 2? Why does it have 2? You ever thought about that? Why do they put dual turbos? Fabio, do you have any, and you're not a car guy, I know that, but would you have any reason, or do you know why they use 2 turbos instead of 1?
I couldn't even begin to.
Okay, I'll simplify it. The larger air you have to push in a cylinder, the larger the turbocharger has to be. So if you have one turbocharger that is feeding air, pushing air into 6 cylinders, it has to be bigger than the one that if it's it's pushing into 3, right? I mean, that's simple. Well, the bottom line, if you blow up a balloon and the balloon's the side of your hand, maybe you could do it with one fell swoop. But if you got a 2-foot balloon, you better have an air machine, or you got to be ready to blow it a lot of times, right? So a turbocharger doesn't blow until it spins up, and they'll spin up 100,000 RPM, and it's called spooling up, and the exhaust pushes a blade, a turbine, that spins, and that turbine's got a shaft hooked to another turbine. So the exhaust comes out, pushes the turbine, that turbine spins another turbine that forces air in. The more air in, the more out, the more out, the more in. It's a round robin. But it takes time to spool up. So the smaller it is, zip, it spools up that much quicker. So you put 2 small turbochargers, and one turbo feeds 3 cylinders, the other turbo feeds 3. And the Bugatti, the Veyron, you got 4 turbochargers. And you've got a quad turbocharger so that you can feed those engines with a smaller turbocharger, but still, because you got multiple engines and multiple cylinders. So anyway, enough of that. But I do want to share with you an interesting way to tune the engine and the car that you drive. So I was talking about turbochargers and talking about EV cars and those sorts of things. But if you like horsepower, if you're a horsepower junkie, and you need a fix, you can buy it. You can buy it from Diablo Sport. Their Intune i3 performance programmer is easy. It's a simple installation. It's dyno tested performance programming. It's blazing fast vehicle read-write times. I literally, in 6 minutes, programmed a 2015 EcoBoost. I'm talking about the EcoBoost engine, and gave that engine more horsepower and fewer emissions, and also modified the shift timing so that this vehicle ran better than it did from the factory. And I always wondered, well, is this legal? Well, this 50-state legal tuning is available, and there's just a better way that you can take the existing car that you have and make it run faster or not, make it drive better for sure, that touch of the pedal. So the more power you have for the same weight ratio, then the easier it's going to be for you to drive. And if you have more power than you did before and you drove conservatively, you would get better gas mileage. And therein lies the trick. You have, after that first 2 or 3 tanks of where you're enjoying that power that the Diablo Sport tuner provides, then you will see that your gas mileage will actually increase because you can use less throttle. So for more information, and I won't get any deeper than that because, as I said, I don't want to get technical, go to diablosport.com and take a look at the new Intune i3 Performance Programmer by Diablo Sport. And your calls at 888-227-2546. Gas prices I mentioned that I would share with you. Here we go again. Yeah, and that was a sewer shark, which is a game that you play on television, whereas you started out in the sewer driving a jet, and you would drive it underground, and then you'd have to channel off to the right, and the light would be green to the right or green to the left, but here you're going like 100 miles an hour, and you only have a split second. And ultimately, after a period of time, I mastered that, and you win millions of points, which means the points are not worth anything, as they say on Whose Line It Is Anyway. Oh, okay, gas prices, $2.52 national average, up in every region in the country over this time last year, and up in 8 of the 10 regions over this time last week. So just for you to know, we're looking at $2.97 on the West Coast for gasoline. On the East Coast, it's $2.50. So you're starting to see the gas prices ease up just a bit, and that's including, by the way, all of the tax dollars. Another hour coming up, and I've got some terrific information, and I'll share with you. But in the meantime, we'll take a top of the hour break. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Diablo Sport tuning systems give you the ability to easily boost your vehicle's power without even popping the hood. But don't take my word for it. PSCA racer Alex Rosio has been using Diablo Sport products on her Dodge Magnum since the beginning of her racing career. According to Alex, Diablo Sport tuners have been an essential part of her success. There really isn't a better line of products that offer quick tuning and diagnostics. Learn more at diablosport.com. And while you're there, check out the new Intune i3 Performance Programmer. That's diablosport.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And I want to welcome you to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, also 888 Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call and put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. Really interesting program today. We've already heard from, in the first hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, Terry Saviston from the Daytona International Speedway. We heard from New York. I'd love to hear from you, whether you're in Washington or you're in California or you're in Oregon or Kearney, Nebraska, or any parts of Nebraska, any state in Texas. So you name it. Let's talk cars. It's really interesting to me, and should be to you, as to what shops use with the way of parts and how we in the industry repair automobiles. I mean, it's your car, it's your money, but it's our name on the line. So when we repair an automobile, it's important that we do it to the best of our ability. So that's what I'll talk about a little bit later in the program. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this morning in part by Johnson Controls, the world's largest producer of automotive Agm batteries, which are precision engineered to meet the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. You can learn more at autobatteries.com. And you can learn more and call me at 888-227-2546 when I come back after this commercial break. So stay tuned, stay right there. I'll be back. I'm Bobby Likis. You'll love us. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries, including which vehicles are the best candidates for this type of battery. Let's hear from Joe.
Well, there are many different types of everyday vehicles that could be a good candidate, from soccer moms to landscape vehicles to different types of hot rods that really would work well with an AGM battery. Many of these vehicles include extensive electrical features, which really place greater emphasis on the demand for the battery. Additionally, if you purchase aftermarket accessories, such as infotainment systems or even lights, you may require a more advanced battery, such as our AGM. Lastly, where and how you drive your vehicle can really impact the battery performance. So for example, if you live in a climate that gets really hot or cold during our summers or winters, our AGM battery will perform better than standard flooded batteries under these conditions.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's cars. Learn more at autobatteries.com. Diablo Sport tuning systems boost your vehicle's power without popping the hood. But don't take my word for it. NHRA racer Bart Tobener has used Diablo Sport since 2001 and currently has an Intune i2 on his daily driver. Bart, the first to eclipse the 7-second mark with an S550 Mustang, knows horsepower. Says Bart, I'll continue to use Diablo as they lead the way in aftermarket handheld and tuning products. Drive to DiabloSport.com.
Lung cancer kills more people than breast, colon, and prostate cancers combined. And 80% of those diagnosed with lung cancer never smoked or quit decades ago. If you or someone you know has lung cancer, the Bonnie J. Adario Lung Cancer Foundation can help. Text the word lungs to 50555 to help lung cancer patients and to fund the research needed to find a cure for the world's deadliest cancer. Go to lungcancerfoundation.org for more information.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com.
When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. First, thank you for tuning in. Second, this is my 26th year in this seat. And third, this is my 46th year in automotive service and repair, and still going strong. And in fact, last year, 2017, we were chosen as the Torch Award, which is the award for ethics in business in our service department. And that's kind of like an oxymoron, isn't it? You know, like, I mean, and folks, our Better Business Bureau Torch Award for ethics in business was earned over all businesses, not just automotive repair, in both Escambia and Santa Rosa counties. It's a big deal, and even bigger than the Best of the Bay and Best of the Coast, which we've won 6 years in a row. So I just have to say that because I'm really proud of my team, because we make mistakes and then we stand behind those mistakes that we make one at a time, each one at a time. That is the way you collectively establish, for those of you who are thinking about going in automotive service or are in automotive service, whether you're dealership or an independent like I, or a chain store like Pep Boys or Firestone or one of those. You look at the challenge and you meet the challenge one day at a time, one car at a time, one customer at a time, with a standard that if the car belonged to you or to your wife or your mother or your sister or to your best friend, what would you do? Therein lies the real challenge, because the car doesn't belong to anyone that you know. It belongs to someone who doesn't know a lot about cars, because car owners don't know a lot about cars, fact, and therefore the money gets in the way. How much is it going to take? What's wrong with it? How long will it take? And when can I get my car back? Those are the three questions that are number 1, 2, and 3 in the industry. So my job here, my goal here, is not to fix your car. My goal is to give you buzzwords and information, so when you talk to your local service shop, whether it's a dealership, new car dealership, or an independent, or a chain store, you'll know the right question to ask. Let's go to New York, take a call from Victor. Victor, thank you for holding, and you're first in, so you're first up. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you for taking my call. Make a long story short, I bought a car 2 weeks ago from a dealer in New York. It's 2001 Range Rover Discovery 2, Land Rover, I'm sorry. And then 10 minutes after I left the guy's yard, I blew the head gasket.
Yes.
I towed the car back there. He charged us additional $500 to fix it. We picked up the car 2 days ago. While we're driving it, the engine started knocking, and the oil indicator came up. But it goes off and it comes on. Anytime it comes on, it starts knocking. So I don't know what may be wrong with it.
So Victor, let me understand. Now that you've got the car back and you drive it down the road 40, 50 miles per hour, the light comes on and the engine starts knocking. And so what do you do at that time? Do you pull over and stop it and turn it off and restart it?
Yes. I don't restart it. I let it cool up a little bit. I showed it to a service station. They feel like the oil pump, it's going. And but none of them really can check it.
Well, here I don't feel like the oil pump is the issue here. I think the oil pump is doing its job. I think that you have there's you want the good news or the bad news? Okay. Here's the good news. The good news is I can give you some valuable information. The bad news is you're not going to like it. But here goes. The oil the oil pump screen, by your definition, is my number one target to inspect, which means someone has to remove the engine oil pan and visually inspect the oil pump screen. I suspect that it is restricted, and it could be restricted because this engine had head gasket problems, overheating problems. It coked or baked the oil and created sludge, and then this company that sold you the vehicle took the heads off, and when you take the heads off, the first thing you do when you get it back together and get it running after you warm it is you drop the oil, because when you take engines apart, you get dirt on the inside, or you break up blood clots and those sorts of things. So it's like a post-op. I mean, you have to watch a patient immediately following the operation more closely than you do a week later or a day later. Same thing is true for when you first restart an engine that you've had apart. That is crucial. So I don't know if they dropped the oil and put new oil and filter after they did the repair. I doubt it. I mean, I just doubt it, because that's a very thorough way to that's the way it should be done, and I doubt it was done the way it should be done, because you shouldn't have bought a car, or you shouldn't have been sold a car that had a head gaskets problem anyway. I mean, that didn't happen. That didn't happen with you driving the car. I mean, anyway, but I won't go there because I don't know. But I suspect. Now, having said that, your next step is to have the oil pan removed. Do you have something you can write this down, Victor?
Yeah, actually, my son is writing it down as this.
Okay, and also you can go to iTunes or YouTube, and you can hear the program anytime after Fabio puts this program up. What, Fabio, an hour and a half after the broadcast? Okay, so about an hour and a half or so after we off for today, which is noon Eastern time, the show will be back, and anything that I've said and any questions and answers will be captured and available, forever. Now, having said that, you want to pull the pan, look at the pickup screen. If it is clotted and stopped up with debris, you want to clean it out.
All right.
You do not want to replace the oil pump unless you look at the bearings of the engine, and the same person that is qualified to inspect the screen should look at a couple of the rod bearings and or a main bearing while you've got the pan off. And to that end, it would be my advice, let's say if the oil pump is mounted on the front of the engine, on the in the pan on the front side, you would want to look at a bearing on the back, because that bearing is the farthest away from the oil pump, and if it's damaged, it will be damaged first. So you want to look at the usual suspects, and that would be the rod bearing and or main bearing that is the farthest located on the engine away from the oil pump, and that would give you the indication of how much knocking and how much damage has occurred with the engine knocking.
Okay.
You also you want them to look at the oil that comes out and see if there are any metal flakes in that oil, and if there are metal flakes, then you've got an engine engine problem. I have a concern that you're going to be buried in this vehicle if you're not careful, because those vehicles are very expensive to repair, and once you get behind the curve, meaning that once the engine has been run hot enough that it has a head gasket problem, and then it could well be damaged. And for the most part, and have you heard Victor, have you heard me mention a product called K-Seal on this program?
Yes, I have.
Okay. The reason that K-Seal is such a great product and saves car owners money is because it's what you do before you pull the heads off and before you spend a lot of money repairing a vehicle that is not worth repairing. In your case, it's too late. But if I had spoken to you prior to you replacing the head gaskets, I would have highly suggested that you, and strongly suggested that you add K-Seal versus taking the motor apart, because now you've got your head gaskets, but now you got another problem, which you probably had to start with. It would have been great if you'd invested, or the dealer or anybody, invested in a bottle of K-Seal before you invested in all the dollars to replace the head gaskets, and now you've got main bearing or rod bearings knocking. You have any questions?
No, that's it. I mean, I got my work cut out now.
Yes, sir, you do. And here's what I want you to do. After you check visually inspect this, I want you to feel free to reach back to me next week, 10 till noon Eastern time. You know how to hear, and I'll help you through this. But do not invest a lot of money in that Land Rover, especially in light of its history. And with that, folks, I'll be back after this break. I'm Bobby Likis with today's Vehicle Maintenance Spotlight, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's a crash course in brake parts before you have a crash. Master cylinders distribute brake fluid to wheels. Calipers and wheel cylinders convert pressurized brake fluid into stopping power. Brake pads and shoes protect calipers from friction caused by stopping. To be safe, include your entire braking system in regular maintenance. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for a wide selection of quality brakes. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices, every day.
O'Reilly. If it's hard to stop or you hear squealing and grinding noises during braking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You'll find the brake parts you need from trusted brands like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermo-Quiet at everyday low prices. Play it safe with brake parts from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Car repairs can get expensive, and most folks don't have spare money laying around for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. A vehicle recently came into our car clinic service shop and was using a lot of coolant. A test showed an internal coolant leak, head gaskets likely. This was an older vehicle, so there was definitely some question as to whether it was worth the fix, as repairs could easily cost a few $1,000s. The car was still nice and safe, and the customer was not particularly ready to buy another vehicle. From our past experience and our car clinic listener stories, we poured a bottle of K-Seal into the cooling system, topped off the level, and took it for a test drive and let it cool. The owner continued to drive the car for a week or so, checking the coolant level daily, and pretty soon the level stabilized. K-Seal did the trick. That was several months ago, and it's still holding. In this case, K-Seal turned a coolant leak casualty into a cash saver. You can pick up K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance. When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad you tuned in. Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic and put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. car repair it can be difficult, and paying for car repair can be expensive. So if you've got an issue with your vehicle, or if you want to keep from having an issue with your vehicle, I'm your man. That's what I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe automotive repair. And for 47 years, and today, as I sit, we're inside an all-digital studio, Bobby Likis Car Clinic, the center of the automotive universe, I call it, and our studio is located inside a 15,000 square foot automotive service shop. So 50 or 60 hours a week, at least, my team services, repairs, and pre-repairs, which is a proprietary program that we created, pre-repair, which stands for the prevention of repair. Because if I could, like a doctor that could cure cancer, if I could, and I can definitely do a good job, I and my team, I would prevent repair. How can I say that? Because, folks, more than 50% of repairs could have been prevented by certain scheduled maintenance services and or pre-repair services, which are a step above, analogous to the FAA annual inspection on an airplane. Whether you fly the plane, or take it out of the hangar, every year it gets an inspection. Same thing is true, should be true for your car. A little more about that later. Let's go to South Carolina. Ron, I want to welcome you to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You have a response to the engine. You heard that call from Victor in New York, obviously. I want to welcome you to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. What say you?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your show.
Thank you.
What a great program. Thank you for answering my call. I have heard in the past that people have used another fluid to clean out what he had a problem with down in the bottom of the drain pan, or the sump pump. Some guys have used gasoline. What's your opinion on this? And could it be something that could clean out that problem for him?
Well, number one, you cannot use gasoline because it's volatile, and I have seen. I've seen the valve covers of an engine be blown not off, but blown up and warped. So they'd be blown off, except the bolts held on there, because it had oil, it had gas mixed in the oil, and there was a spark, and it poof, and it blew. I mean, I'm done more than seen it. It happened to me, because this car was towed to me from people that were trying to make it run, and they had flooded it, and I pulled the distributor out to put it on top dead center, and it was my mistake for not checking, but they had left the key on. But it was a race car, wannabe race car. It didn't have a key, it had a toggle switch, so I didn't know the key was on. And when I touched the distributor, it exploded, but for the grace of God, the distributor didn't fly up and go through my face. So the bottom line is,
wow.
That's a true story. The bottom line is, never use gasoline for anything other than to put in your tank and burn. That's period. Now, there are chemicals that you can buy, Ron, that dissolve carbon, but here's the challenge. And think about it. If you have a sink in your washing dishes, and you just had a lasagna, and you got pasta and tomato and everything left over and hard what have you, and you clean the pan, your sink is now filled with debris. You've cleaned the pan, but the sink is filled with debris. And you got to drain that out and clean the sink before you can go to another load of dishes. Well, the same thing is true for an engine, except you can't get the debris out of the pan because the hole is the size of your little finger, and you can only get what is dissolved and liquid in form, but you can't get the chunks and the coked up, caked up carbon. And even if you could, even if you had a trap door like some big diesels, like tractors have a side panel, you could take off the side, you can walk in some of those, they're so big. But the oil pan strainer, and that's what I told him to look at, the oil pan strainer, the oil engine is sucking, as the engine is running, sucking that debris into the screen, and it clots and gets trapped into the screen, and it stays there. The only way you can get it out, take that screen out, and we don't even clean the screens. We throw them away and buy a new pickup tube and put a new pickup tube whenever we have an occasion to have an oil pan off and we see that the screen has debris. We do not clean screens. We throw them away because they're a $50 item, and if you can save someone's engine, if you can spend a couple, $500 and save their engine by pulling the pan and put a new pickup screen or what have you, you've done a whale of a service. Anyway, your comments.
Well, yes, Bobby. I appreciate all that, and you're quite intelligent. I've always have been referred to gasoline as a clean or something that you can use. Now I know we have all kinds of things that we can use as cleaning agents, so we don't have to refer to something so flammable.
Yes.
What would you suggest that the man with this Mercedes, I believe it was a Mercedes, the last call he took was a few calls ago.
Oh, well, it was. If I were going to clean out an engine, I would use a product that is made by an aftermarket company that makes specific chemicals. Berryman Products is one that comes to mind. And Berryman Products has been around forever. In fact, 30 years ago, I was so surprised when the Berryman's transmission, and that was one that I assumed that they really established their reputation making. Chrysler Corporation endorsed Berryman Products, and I say endorsed because it was a no-brainer, and it was known in the automotive service industry that you could use their transmission additive in your Chrysler because Chrysler actually recommended it. And you know, I can tell you just from experience, Ron, OEMs, new car makers, don't recommend any fuel additive, any oil additive. And when I bought my Viper in 2001, and as I do with any new car, I read thoroughly the owner's manual. And it was really funny because, or ironic, because the Viper manual says do not use any additive, period, in this engine. Well, it didn't forget the period. It said do not use any oil additive or fuel additive. And then the next statement, but if you did, make sure you use Chrysler Dodge fuel additive, and Dodge and OEMs don't make oil, they don't make coolant, they don't make additives. Aftermarket companies and oil companies make additives. So, you know, it's like, okay, well, don't do as I do, do as I say do. You know, that was the impression that I got. You understand where I'm going there?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It sounds like they want you to buy their products, but don't buy their products.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like Ford Motor Company a couple 3 years ago had a new transmission spec, a fluid, and they said this fluid's good for 150,000 miles. Now think about it. Now, of course, their warranty was good for 50,000 miles on the transmission. So it'd be like me selling you a product and say, now, Ron, if you this transmission fluid is good for 150,000 miles, I'm only going to guarantee the transmission 50,000 miles, but you can run the transmission fluid 150. Well, if you do, when you get to about 130 or 40, you know, you could well have problems and issues that you would not have had you changed the fluid. And so somewhere between the bean counters at corporate and the engineers, I'm sure that's always a behind the closed door kind of how much do you tell the buyer as to what he or she should do. And a good example of that is, if you'll remember years ago, and you may not remember this, Firestone came out with a forever battery. Did you remember that era? I do.
I don't remember that, Bobby. I'm 50 years old, but I don't remember that.
Well, the reason I remember it vividly because I had a motorhome, and a good friend of mine had a motorhome, and he said, I'm going to get a forever battery. And I said, well, what is that, Dave? And he said, well, Firestone sells a forever battery, and you buy one, it's yours forever, and they'll replace it. And I said, well, that won't last. Anyway, after about 6 batteries, because he kept this motorhome. People buy motorhomes, they don't use them, but they run the batteries, because at that time we were using battery chargers that that charge 24/7. Unlike today, we have like the battery tender. It's a computer. It actually can charge the battery, and when the battery has enough, it backs down. It turns itself off, and yet it pings the battery, and so it monitors the health of the battery. Now, truly, we're talking today's technology. But of course, why would you use yesterday's tech? You wouldn't go to the hospital and say, okay, I want an operation in your 70s operating room versus the 2000s operating. I mean, you smile, I laugh, but it's not a laughing matter, because a lot of people say, well, this is I've used this product forever and it's worked forever. Well, forever is not forever. So anyway, I really appreciate you calling, and as you can tell, I'm passionate about what I believe in, but I'm also absolutely open to learning, and I think that's sometimes not as agreeable with some of my listeners, because I talk about electric vehicles and I talk about alternative fuels, I talk about new products and what have you, because we can't stand still. You can stand on the tracks, or you can get run over, or you can do what it takes to keep moving. Any questions, Ron?
No, sir. Thank you for your passion. I'm about a combustion engine guy. I'm an Army vet and a combat vet. I love listening to your program. It's just, everything is great about listening to this, and that's my passion. So I appreciate, and we all do. And thank you, Bobby, for keeping it up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And where do you live, sir?
I'm in Anderson, South Carolina. My young son Vincent's listening right now. I don't know if anybody else in my family is listening, but we love your program. Keep on, sir.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, folks, that just means that I'll keep rambling, I guess, rambling forward. Gas prices, I want to share with you, are higher than they were this time last year in every region of the country, and they are higher than they were this time last week in 8 of the 10 regions of the country. And the price on the West Coast is $3 a gallon. The average price nationally average is $2.52 a gallon, $2.52 a gallon. So I don't know what drives that, but I know that this break is driving me away. So when I come back, I'm going to talk to Joshua in New York, and your calls at 888-CAR-CLINIC. Being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time, as harsher conditions can strain your automobile. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Winter means shorter days and longer nights. It's a great time to make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly, and don't forget to make sure your headlights are properly aimed. This item is often overlooked. The best way to warm up your engine in the winter is to drive gently at the start. Make sure your ice scraper and snow brush are accessible, and replenish your emergency kit. Jumper cables, a flashlight, blankets, extra clothes, bottled water, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit with any medication that may be needed. It may seem like a lot, but better safe than sorry. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive. that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today. Remember, 10 till noon Eastern Time every Saturday, right here on your local AM and or FM radio station, or at watchbobbylive.com. Joshua from New York. Joshua, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, thank you for having me. I have a 2003 Dodge Stratus. I bought it from an older lady. It sat for about 6 years in the same spot. I bought it. The alternator light was on, so I replaced the alternator. But directly after, maybe the same day, the alternator light was still on. I've been driving it for almost a year with the alternator light on, and I've never stalled or anything, never... my headlight flickers, and the dashboard flickers a very little bit. I was wondering if... what's your opinion on it?
Well, I wouldn't drive it. I wouldn't drive any car with any warning light on, and so I'd rather, number one, I don't know the answer because it's electrical wiring, and because anyone that could tell you or say they knew the answer, that would not be the case at all. That wouldn't be the truth. So I'd rather address the fact, Joshua, that you've seen fit to drive this car with the alternator light on, and also because, and here's why. If you condone driving the car with the light on, let's say that you have family over, and your car happens to be the one that's the easiest to get to, and you need milk or bread or whatever. And so you give your keys to a friend or a family member and say, hey, my car's right there, take my car. So they take your car to the store. They're only going 2 miles down the road. And a check engine light comes on, or the oil pressure light comes on. But when you hand them the keys, and now the light's on, the alternator light's on, don't worry about that. So they drive your car 2 blocks, 2 miles, and the engine locks up. How are you going to feel, and how are they going to feel when you say, what did you do to my car? Well, but Joshua, you told me the light was on. I didn't tell you the oil light was on. I said the other light was on. So I've had this, that is my feedback, and that's my response, because I've had so many people in my career that went so far as to put black tape over a light on the dash, and it really galls me when that happens. Now I'm not ranting and I'm not slamming you. I'm just saying that the very fact that you would put an alternator on a car because the light was on, and then kept driving it when the light was on, doesn't make sense to me. Why did you put one on to start with? Why didn't you just drive it to start with versus replacing the alternator?
Well, I wasn't sure if the alternator was good or not, because I bought it and the light was on. So I replaced it, but directly after, the light was still on.
Well, the point is, so the light was on, so your thoughts were in the right place to start with. You say, hey, this is not right. The check engine light, or the battery light's on, so I'm going to put a new battery in it. And you put a new alternator. You put a new alternator or a rebuilt, or I guess you got a rebuilt one or a new one, or what?
No, I put in a brand new alternator and a brand new battery.
Okay, great. All right, so you got the charging system revived, but the light was on, and so for the life of me, you should have it tested, have the car tested, because you could have a diode in that alternator that's causing the light to be on, and the alternator could still work and still maintain the battery and the usability, but it could be bad, and if that's the case, you could take it back and get another one and the light would have gone out, but you didn't take that step. Now you have no recourse. You see where I'm going? I'm trying to help you here, but the only way that you can truly determine what causes the light is to have someone that has a wiring diagram and the training to test the charging system. And here's what I recommend for you, and I strongly recommend you take your car to a service shop and say, what do you charge me for, whatever they call it. We call it AVR test. It's an alternator voltage regulator test.
Okay.
And we charge a half an hour or so for that test, a little less than half an hour actually, and we check the wave pattern, the ripple effect of the alternator, and the alternator output under maximum load, and we check the battery. And this is with the engine off and with the engine running. And so that lets us inspect and test everything while it's running. And because another thing too, a lot of people do, they'll take the alternator off and take it to a parts store and say, check this alternator. And the parts store says, okay, check it. Oh, the alternator's okay. And they put it back on the car. Well, they haven't proven anything because it could have been the connection. It could have been a lot of things. So with regard to electronics and electrical charging system, they must be categorically, with no exceptions, you must test them on the vehicle to properly know what the next steps are. So that's what I advise for you to do. And again, thank you for calling me.
What was that test again? AV.
Well, the different shops call it. I call it AVR, alternator voltage regulator test, but a charging system test.
Okay.
And before I let you go, one more point. Let's say they check it and the alternator tests good, the battery tests good, and the ripple effect is okay, which is the diodes, etc., and the light's still on. Here's what they're going to say. Your charging system is up to specs. We will have to charge you more money to find out why the light is on, because that could be a printed circuit board in the dash, or it could be a wire between the alternator and the dash, or more. But at least you'll have enough information you can make an educated decision as to what next steps to take, because driving with a warning light on is not acceptable in any case, except when an emergency case and you got to work your way home, but that's not your case at all.
Okay.
Okay, my friend. Thank you. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. It's pretty good when you can have such a. I really appreciate the fact that folks, you believe and you have the confidence in me, because I really care. Lindsay from Pennsylvania, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning. I have a 2006 GMC 2500, and different components are starting to fail, like the radiator, the gas tank.
Yes, sir.
Is there a point at which stuff's planned obsolescence where just everything's going to start to fail, or do you have any experience with that?
Yes, lots of experience. That's a ongoing question. It is in all vehicles. In some vehicles, there are inherent conditions. For instance, your 06 GMC, if it has the V8 engine, which I'm sure it has, will come to a point in its lifetime where the oil pressure is erratic, and you first crank it up in the morning and it doesn't read to 40 or like it used to. It's like 10 or 5, or the next thing you know, you look down and it jumps up. Or you drive it for a half a block or a half a mile and it comes up, and it's okay the rest of the day, and yet when it's cold it's erratic, and then sometimes even when it warms up. So if that happens, there's an easy fix for that. That doesn't mean you have to have an engine. It's a rubber O-ring in the oil pump pickup tube, and that is a common problem. Also with cars and trucks, age is against you. When a car is age, and your car is what? This is 17, so you're 11 years old. the average age of every car these days is 11.6 on the highway. So you're within the average age. But when you get another 5 years, I mean, I had a call this week or an email from a listener that says, Bobby, should I buy a younger car with high mileage or an older car with lower mileage? And I said, by all means, buy the high mileage, youngest car you can buy, because you get technology improvements with the younger car that the other one didn't come with, the older one didn't come with, and the miles really don't hurt an automobile. So, Lindsay, to answer your question is, they're maybe not planned obsolescence. That's a big question. It sounds a little negative to say there's planned obsolescence. I mean, I had a water pump go out on my car at 46,000 miles, and I was really not happy about that. It didn't go out. It started to make noise. But if it had been a consumer's car, it could have put them down on the highway, and it could have melted the engine on the highway, or it could have thrown the belt and the pulley through the hood and damaged, who knows what. And yet I heard this unusual noise because I'm aware. So I would just say to you that for you best to stay on top, make sure all the fluids get changed every 30 to 50,000 miles. Make sure the belts get changed. Wiper blades get changed. And I can tell you something else. When you start to look at the wearables on an automobile, and these wearables are headlight bulbs, yep, they wear out. Belts, of course, wiper blades, filters. When you look at those parts, you want to buy parts, or you want to go to a shop that buys the best part, not the cheapest part. And Lindsay, I can tell you, I practice what I am preaching here. I use Bosch. Bosch parts are over the top. I'm also an authorized Bosch service center and have been associated with Bosch for more than 30 years. So I have the experience and I have the report cards, so to speak. Well, not so to speak. I have the customers and the clients that I've protected and pre-repaired their vehicles using the quality parts to include the Bosch parts, wiper blades and filters, and well, I use icons on my car. I'll order them special. So that's the best thing that I could offer for you. But I will tell you this: if you haven't changed, like brake fluid in 2 or 3 years, that should be done. If you haven't serviced the rear brakes, that should be done. If someone does a brake job and does a pad slap, which means they just slap a set of pads on it and they don't lubricate the slides and the ways of the caliper and put a hardware kit on the calipers, which is a $10 nit, but it makes a difference between a brake job being done correctly and one being just put a set of pads and hope it works. So there are a lot of ways that you're talking to someone who's been in the business 47 years. We've had more than 230,000 cars through our shop in those 47 years, and yet we learn every day, but we keep the standard high. Anyway, any questions?
Well, I think your knowledge is phenomenal, and you're probably the best value for your time on the radio.
Well, I really appreciate that. I am earnest and honest and sincere, and of course, I have an ego as well, and I love your praise, and I thank you for that. And what's really great about this program, Lindsay, is I've really insulted a lot of people. I've had somebody call me and ask me a question, and then I would give him my sincerest answer. He said, "Well, but my next door neighbor said so and so and so." I said, "Well, why you call me then?" I mean, if you think about the automotive repair, it's not as bad today because everyone knows how technical the cars are. But I've had people call me and ask me questions, and I say, well, why is it that you would ask my next door neighbor says this, and he used to work on lawnmowers, and he's a pretty good mechanic, and backyard and yada yada. The bottom line is, why will people take an honest opinion that they think is the truth from a next door neighbor about their $35,000 automobile or whatever it is, when if they have a watch, they don't dare touch it, they take it to a jeweler to get a battery put in it? It's a whole, it's a mindset, it's what it is, and that's part of what I try to do is to educate and infotain. If it's not entertaining, it has to be fun. It has to be, and I have fun here. I guess you can tell.
Well, I appreciate your passion and your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay, from Pennsylvania. I appreciate you as well. I want to share with you one more item today before I leave you. There's a product that is called B-Laster, like blaster, but it's B-Laster. It's a dry lube, and it has, of course, the Teflon fluoropolymer, which helps reduce friction and wear, and it protects surfaces, enhances performance, and you can use it. And gosh, I wish I had spoken with a gentleman from Pennsylvania on this. You can use it on locks and hinges and cables and window and door tracks. So, for example, if you've got a window that is slow in moving up and down, you can use B-Laster on the channel and lube that channel. It's a dry lube, and that will save you from having to buy the motor or replace the motor in the door. It won't repair the motor, I'm not saying that, but it'll take some of the pressure off the old motor and make it work better. I mean, it enhances the performance in that respect. For more information, go to blastercorp.com, BLASTERCORP.com, and to make it really easy, just go to your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store and say, I want some of that blaster stuff that Bobby Likis talks about, and you can use it on your car, and you can use it around your house as well. I thank you for tuning in today. It's been really fun. I have a small road trip coming up, and I look forward to it. Yes, I've checked my car. I know how much gas, how much oil. It's been serviced recently. And so I'm ready to hit the road, and I will see you next Saturday, same time, same place. Thanks again for tuning in. Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
We recently performed a brake job on a 2012 Ford Escape, and while there are several critical parts to an effective, safe, and lasting brake job, you should always start with a thorough cleaning. Using a quality aerosol brake cleaner will ensure that the surfaces are clean and residue-free. Our choice is Berryman's Chlorinated Brake Parts Cleaner, the first VOC-compliant chlorinated brake cleaner available in over 20 years. Berryman's Chlorinated Brake Parts